if I didn't give enough opiates back in the 90s. And trust me, I fought that legislation like crazy.
You were on the forefront.
Trust me, I could have gone to jail if I didn't give enough opiates back in the 90s. And trust me, I fought that legislation like crazy.
You were on the forefront, but what we now know is that the pharmaceutical companies knew that these were highly addictive drugs.
Of course.
And gave incentives to doctors, not you, to then give people limitless amounts.
Well, it was a little more complicated than that. The incentives were like speaking engagements and things like that. To a very narrow number of doctors. There was an ethos, and it was enforced by the Joint Commission of Hospital Accreditation, the various medical societies. Everything was enforced. Pain became the fifth vital sign, and if you didn't pay attention to the fifth vital sign the way you paid attention to somebody's pulse, you were in legal trouble.
But is it fair to say that these rules and treatment in the pharmaceutical companies turned some doctors into drug dealers?
The drug companies were duplicitous. I'll tell you where they really jumped the shark for me is when the profession woke up, they started realizing this was a problem, thank God, and that's when the drug companies doubled down on their marketing, and that was where I thought, okay, now you guys have to pay. That's it.
You have this lawsuit, Purdue Pharmaceuticals offering to pay $12 billion to settle opioid lawsuits, and my passion for this, you know how close I was to Prince, and when people then, and I try not to cry in this, when people would say, well, look at him, another drug addict, entertainer.
No, I just
and I was like, what is this what we now do to people? And knowing that I did a story on a mother, she's 35 years old. She lost custody of her 2 children, lost her marriage. She had a great business as a real estate agent, lost it all, and ultimately her life because she became addicted to opioids. I mean, these are the stories. So when the pharmaceutical companies and some doctors say, oh, we have now realized the problem, it just,
listen,
it's not honest.
It is honest now, but they were not honest before. And to say that we made a mistake, yeah, you did.
So what should happen what's the next level of the conversation? We've worked through the anger.
Yeah.
Now what now?
For me, so what happened was, the profession kind of woke up to the opiate addiction. They started cutting patients off, as opposed to bringing them in and going, we have a new problem. I didn't intend this, but we have a second condition now. It's called addiction. We're going to get you treated. Instead, they cut the patients off as bad patients. And when you do that to an opiate addict, they go to the street, they get heroin, and heroin takes you homeless. That's what happens. So in a sense, the homeless is the last wave of the opioid epidemic. And then, of course, California, Oregon, Washington have welcomed them in with no consequences. And so that's committing them to die on the streets.
Hello, Mr. Dunbar.
Hello.
Hey, I'm Dr. Pinkerton. How are you?
Oh, all right.
What's going on, man?
Pinkerton, your name?
Pinkerton.
Pinkerton.
Like the color pink.
Oh, okay.
What's going on?
Oh, I thought I was all discharged and ready to go. Molar, jaw, right side, very last one. Cracked it October of last year. And I kind of came up with a little payment plan. $366. Anyway, a couple days ago, this thing
Flared up.
real bad. So I've been popping the Tylenol like candy. And, back in September, gave me the script for the amoxicillin, tramadol, and that seemed to have quelled it. I'm about halfway through my payment plan, and unfortunately, this is what I have to do.
Another hiccup in the road.
Another hiccup in the road. So if you can, and I don't have I had to pay him $90 for that exam, and I don't have $90, otherwise I went back to him, so.
Open up.
Go easy, please go easy.
Listen, just tell me this search. Listen, I'm gonna be gentle. Listen, I've been doing this a long time. I'm not trying to hurt you, okay? Settle down. Open up. Open up, it's okay.
I'm scared I won't go back to sleep again.
No, listen, just bear with me. Believe me, I'm not an aggressive person. So open up.
But I mean, it's extremely sensitive.
Fine, I just won't do it then. That's fine. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to prescribe you antibiotics. Okay, we're going to prescribe you naproxen. It's a long-acting anti-inflammatory. Okay, specifically what we prescribe here for tooth pain. And then you can follow up with your dentist.
So
That's not true. That's not true, sir. Sir, I don't prescribe Percocet. I don't prescribe any. I know. Listen, I'm just telling you. I don't prescribe controlled substances for tooth pain. They get naproxen. That's my practice. It has nothing to do with race, color, male, female, kid, adult. It has nothing to do with that. So to make that allegation is kind of insulting.
I'm sure that is your scripted response. Hey, it's okay.
No, listen, it's not my scripted
Black
response.
people have come accustomed to it. Hey, we've been given this treatment.
I'm sorry, but I feel offended here. I personally feel offended because this is
one that's suffering with the pain.
Listen, I'll be honest with you. I've been doing this a long time, okay? Physicians have been criticized by overprescribing pain medication, okay? So now we're held to a new standard of not prescribing strong pain medication for not serious conditions.
So I'm black, I'm homeless, white people have fallen asunder to this, and if it wasn't bad for the black people before, it's definitely hopeless now. So
I'm sorry you feel that way, but it's completely wrong, okay? But I'm sorry you feel that way. I really do. It's kind of a shame, actually, all right? But I'll be happy to prescribe you the medications that are appropriate for your condition, okay? As well as every other person that comes in with tooth pain that receives naproxen, whether they be white, African American, black, Hispanic, whatever.
Now that white people are overdosing, everybody's gonna suffer. It's like
not just white people overdosing. We see all ethnicities that are overdosing. It is an epidemic. It's an epidemic across all races.
3 of the world's most famous heroin addicts were black. Billie Holiday, Ray Charles, and Miles Davis. I fully get all that.
It gets everyone, man. It gets the rich, gets the poor, it gets everybody, man. Politics, not politics.
I'm very political, and I follow along. And I also follow along with the stories that chronicle how black people are treated vastly differently in healthcare for pain, both pre-heroin crisis and post-heroin crisis.
And I'm also aware of those trends. I'm aware. I do not practice those trends. That is not my practice.
Oh, your practice is what your insurance carrier said.
That's not true either. I don't practice based upon insurance. I practice based upon what's appropriate and what's right for the patient. I don't know anything about insurance. That's a whole different degree. Insurance, I could care less.
I'll put it to you like this, as I guess we're going to do our party thing here. If I were a junkie, why would I be squirreling money away for Dr. Negligence? I could just as easy go to one of these.
Whether you're a junkie or not, let's not even call them junkie, okay? They have an addiction. Whether you have an addiction or not, you still get treated the same. Believe it or not, they're at higher risk for more serious problems, so I typically take them a little more seriously when they have a condition because they could have other underlying things going on. Because there's a lot of complications associated with IV drug abuse and all that other stuff you need to be concerned about, as opposed to someone who does not, okay? So that's a whole different spectrum. They're completely different, okay? And that's based medically. But I'm sorry you feel this way, but unfortunately for you, from the way that you feel, I'm sorry that you feel as though you're being treated inappropriately, but I'm telling you, this is the appropriate medical management of this condition, so I'm sorry if you feel that way. But believe me, I wouldn't treat you any different than my son, my daughter, my wife, my parents. Guess what they would get for tooth pain? They would get naproxen for pain. I would not prescribe it.
And all because white people have fallen addicted. In large.
I would say the general population. So, alright, let me get you ready to go, okay? Alright, if you want, you can hang out in here if you want, okay? Or you can go back out the wing, whatever you want, but we'll get everything ready for you. We'll give you your first dose of all your medications now, so you have something on board. Alright? Any questions?
I have lots of questions, and it's never alright that your patient has to be given an inferior level of care just because there's a different demographic struggling.
I'm sorry, sir. You're offending me, and I can't listen any longer.
Black people, we don't even get our hands on opioids. They don't even give them to us. I had a double mastectomy. You know what they sent my black ass home with? Ibuprofen. White people get opioids like they Tic Tacs. I'm at work, and I'm like, damn, I got a headache. White people start pulling out all kind of pills and shit. Just fucking loose pills in Ziploc bags? Would you like an oxycodone? Oh, she should take a Percocet. Other girl over there is preparing a needle. Give me your arm. This shit is not normal.
Hey guys, what up? Total Control 871. Yeah, so I was scrolling through my homeless research news stories, and I came across the Dr. Drew opioid homeless, and I figure, what the hell? Enough with the analysis paralysis. We're gonna go ahead and run with where's my due? We're gonna run with the opioid episode, basically. Yes, we're finally going to do the opioid episode. As we saw, Dr. Drew put together a hodgepodge mixture of correct and incorrect talking points. Let me clue you in on how the actual progression of the opioids went. Now, I can really only speak for, I guess, New Jersey. I can't really speak for other demographics. You know, I try to be as forthright with you guys as I possibly can. I'll let you know when I'm speculating and when I'm offering my opinion and when I'm offering facts. So I can tell you about opioid writing practices here in the state of New Jersey. So I can't really speak for the Appalachian Mountains. I know shit out there in Virginia is like crazy bad. Ohio's bad. We're also going to talk about the difference between white and black heroin addicts. It's like, I don't know if I want to go too far off into, you know, they are beginning to talk about not just simply opioids, but how different races metabolize medications differently. So hopefully there'll be enough time. This is going to be a two-parter. I burned up like 10 minutes just giving my reference, my source material. So sorry for the long opening, but I really need you guys to understand where I'm coming from. I also want you guys to understand that in no shape or form am I implying that black people cannot become addicted to opioids. Of course they can. It's just simply a vast difference, the ratio. For every black heroin addict, you'll have 20 white. I don't exactly know why, but I do have some working theories, and I don't think white people are going to like that too much. They'll probably end up doing episode 2 on that. But yeah, so let's start with our Dr. Drew, as he's talking about how he could have been charged for not writing enough pain management back in the 90s. He's correct. I won't take you through the whole story, but I suffered with a hiatal hernia. I can't begin to tell you how incredibly painful. A portion of my stomach became lodged in my diaphragm. To this day, I still have issues from that. You will never understand how incredibly painful that was. To this day, that hiatal hernia and dental pain, dental torture. You really can't even call it dental pain the way Dr. Pinkerton was calling it. He called it dental pain. He said that it wasn't serious. Went on to say how he would do this for his own family. You know, I did have to say a little prayer for Dr. Pinkerton's family. For those of you who believe in that whole cosmic thing, you know, what you say out of your mouth comes to creation. I would not want Dr. Pinkerton's family to suffer the way I did that night. It was very bad. I don't think he understood. In other words, when Dr. Pinkerton said that, I kind of just classified that the same way your unruly teenager storms up to their room, screams how much he hates his parents, wants them all to die, and slams the door shut. You say it, but you don't really mean it. I seriously doubt Dr. Pinkerton would would give fucking basically as Wanda says, ibuprofen for that kind of dental torture. You know, the tooth, it's slightly attenuated. It has gotten significantly better. I'm still working on getting the extraction. It's gotten significantly better, but you know what? It's slightly moved. It's as if, because that's what it felt like. It felt like there was a little tiny C-clamp or a vice grip on the tooth, just getting twisted tighter and tighter until it would just crack or move, or I don't know, man, whatever. But it felt like somebody just took a hammer and smashed it right there at the hinge of my jaw. I seriously don't think Dr. Pinkerton understood the gravity of the situation. He would never have said that he would have done that for his family. I try not to I don't have any ill will toward the man, and I definitely don't want his family to suffer that kind of excruciating pain. I know I'm burning through so much time here, but like I say, it's going to be a two-parter. Opioids, 90s, yes. The negligence of pain management led to a lawsuit. And it's like, as I think this, it's like, I think it's on YouTube too. There is a French troupe. I don't know what you would call it. It's not Cirque du Soleil. It's these two guys, they're on stage, they're completely naked, and they've got one small bath towel between the two of them. They go through a series of, I don't know if you'd call it acrobatic gestures, but the comedic joke is they're using forced perspective to hide themselves. And so that's what we see with our medical institution, as it's desperately trying to shield itself from liability and lawsuit. They snatched a towel to cover this part, but then they have to cover that part, and then this one snatches it away from you, and that's what happens. So they found themselves, doctors found themselves in the crosshairs of a lawsuit for ignoring pain management. And then, of course, what happens, there's much more to the story that Drew because Drew is a corporate-sponsored doctor who is out there, much like Ben Carson, to sell certain talking points, to craft a narrative. This narrative definitely has bipartisan support, you know, but enter workers' comp. Basically, the gist of it is you come in with your injury. Not every workers' comp injury is legitimate. This is true. Workers' comp here in New Jersey. As it has been explained to me, there was this, in decades gone by, massive abuse of lawsuits for every little ooey owie, big payouts. Eventually, things got capped. In other words, if I were to have sued my employer for my back injury, it caps at something like $20,000. If you just and they have the option to pay in installments, the employer. You can just simply get $20,000 from unemployment, you know, or what's left of $20,000, because the lawyers are going to take their big hunk. So $12,000, yeah. Anyway, so workers' comp became a type of pill mill. You went in with your injury, real or fake, or whatever the case may be, and the doctor would just simply give you a nice big thing of Vicodin, Percocet, whatever. I don't know if I told you guys. I was underwhelmed. I think I told you guys before my Percocet story. My first time taking Percocet, greatly underwhelmed. Was like, I didn't even take it there in the ER room. Oh my God, is this going? I gotta take a bus home. Is this shit gonna fuck me up? I get home, I take it, and it's like a half hour later. This isn't shit. I don't get it. What is everybody? What's the big hoo ha? Anyway, so what's my time? 20. Okay. What ultimately happens is workers' comp, it became a type of pill mill. What they want you to do is they want to give you enough pain medication to number one, treat your actual injury. Number two, they're kind of expecting you to abuse it a little bit. They want you to get so hopped up on pain medicine that when you go for your follow-up visits, you are reporting everything is fine, everything is wonderful. Great, we'll send you back to work. You still got enough to take while, to launch you into your return. They're documenting all of your reports. You say you feel good, you say you feel great, da-da-da-da-da. They're doing whatever they have to do to get the case closed so that you don't sue your employer. That's a big, big component to this thing. And then, of course, once your case has been closed out and suddenly certain people found themselves addicted to this stuff Why? I guess maybe I'll move on. Workers' comp played a big part in this thing, and this was all to shield employers. So this thing involves more than big pharmacy. I'm no Wexler, Sackler, whatever the fuck their people are called. Purdue. It's not like I'm an advocate of these things, but if you're going to assign blame, make sure you assign it correctly and to all involved. I really don't know how much doctors pushed these pills, like how they're talking about, paid to write prescriptions for certain things. I don't know. I've always lived as chemical free as I possibly can. I'm very anti-drug. It takes a lot of pain to drive me to a hospital to even look for a script. Anyway, but it does, again, like Wanda would so eloquently point out to us, it doesn't make a difference if you're willing to go get a script for pain or not. The color of that skin will definitely keep you in pain like you would not believe. Doctors don't like to talk about this, but it is indeed true. It's not imaginary. I know people think I have certain beliefs about... To all the black people out there watching this, you already know what I'm talking about. Because I had one... Check my time. I had one commenter, I think in the initial opioid thing, say, I'm white, they don't give it to me. I understand that. What I'm saying is, before the opioid crisis, black people stood no chance of getting strong pain management. You were left to languish in pain. If black people did get it, it probably was in a workers' comp type scenario, because they really don't care what your race is. They just simply want you to say that you feel fine and you're ready to go back to work. That's all they care, white or black. But if it's not a workers' comp situation, then you're just fucked. You're just fucked. That's all I can really tell you. Like Wanda Sykes said, hey, she's a celebrity. She's got some money in the bank, And ironically, we had Dr. Drew talking about people being sent to illegal drugs and things like that. Irony is that the way things are, Dr. Pinkerton and all of the doctors who would follow suit, it means that a person like me with a should some whatever it is that happens to you, I would indeed have to reach out to the street to see if I could acquire strong medicine. My God. So literally, the opioid crisis. You know, how do I say this? I'm trying to save time too. So if I were susceptible to opioids in that fashion, the opioid crisis would then create. It would duplicate. It would mitosis, cell division. No, it would create. So the very actions that you're taking if you want to believe Dr. Pinkerton's take on trying to save me from addiction, his actions would in fact cause the addiction. But like I said, for whatever reason, I appear to be immune to the addictive effects of it. Let's see, I know I don't have an SD card in this thing, and it's ticking away. What happens then is, and that could set a whole cascade. Luckily, if I did end up being forced into that cattle chute of having to acquire illegal opioids on the street, God, I was sitting here as I'm getting this episode together in my mind. It caused me to flashback. Who remembers ER Trauma? The not the NBC show. ER Trauma, the real life thing. They had the cameras in the ER rooms, which always kind of freaked me the fuck out. I never really quite understood how HIPAA allowed such thing. But anyway, point is, one particular night, a black guy, see, like I said, it's not that I'm thinking that no black people can't be. It was something called street Valium. And this is in the 90s. And he comes in, he's like, apparently this stuff called street Valium, I don't know what it's actually comprised of. And frankly, I don't think he understood what it was made of either. But whatever it was that he took, it caused his facial muscles to contract in such a way where it literally looked like he was grinning. And with me being a DC fan, I thought I had one of my DC shirts on. If you remember our '89 Jack Nicholson Joker, the Joker gas, it's like, oh my God, it's real life Joker gas. That shit actually exists? So yeah. Needless to say, not only have I lived a clean and sober life, free of illegal drugs, but it's like, dude, that one episode alone was enough to make me not want to, take shit that isn't yours. Or it's like somebody pops open a pill bottle and shakes something out into the palm of their hand. You have no fucking idea what that shit is, okay? So, yeah, I definitely don't want to go down that route. However, the kind of torturous pain that I was in, it's either that or an armed robbery of a pharmacy, which I'm sure would be classified as junkie robs pharmacy. But in fact, it's not junkie at all. It's just somebody in eye-watering pain. And then, of course, when you talk about pain, what's my time? Talk about pain. That's when we hear Dr. Pinkerton say it's not serious. For a very long time, black people have not been viewed as being completely human. White people think that we are these beasts of burden, that we are stronger. It's like do you want to view it as a compliment? I don't think so, no. You're stronger than us. You can take more abuse than us. Yeah, mule. But yeah, black people have been seen like that. Talking about a race of people who are forced to give birth in the morning and be back in the fields picking cotton before the sun went down, So that's how we were treated, and that a lot of that perception has not changed yet, as we see with Wanda Sykes. And she's not alone. Wanda's not alone. I'm not alone. Black people out there, they understand this. And like I said, I understand my white commenter, I understand that the doctors aren't giving you opioids anymore. Check my time here. Got a couple more minutes and I'll have to switch to part two. I understand that. But we're talking about pre-opioid crisis and post-opioid crisis. Dr. Drew, he goes on to do his talking points. The heroin caused the homelessness. That's not always the truth. We talked about our horseman number one. I told you guys, these learned professionals, they like to hijack the first horseman of homelessness and use it as their driving spear to really drive a narrative that it is drugs and mental illness that cause, that cause the homelessness. I'm not going to say that, but I've already spoken about our first horseman of homelessness, so you guys can go check that out. I'm not saying that doesn't exist. It's there, just in far smaller numbers than you may think. And of course, not to jump too far ahead, but our fourth horseman of homelessness is where, the non-addicted turn to drugs, to self-medicate, to obliterate the fucked up world that they are in. Addiction has now completed its full cycle. All right, guys, we're going to switch to part two. Talk to you soon. Hopefully you stick around.